Welcome, this is Peter Burgess from Process Culture, and today we'll be talking about how to integrate your Webflow contact form with Airtable. This allows us to store all inquiries in one central location and ensure that we don't drop the ball and lose inquiries in our inbox. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is the homepage of Airtable, and Airtable is a great alternative to other solutions that you might have dabbled with, like Google Sheets or Excel. It's sort of a spreadsheet solution, more than a spreadsheet solution. It's really a sort of an online database solution on steroids. There's an awful lot you can do with this tool. I also use Webflow for my own website, and Webflow is a great tool for developing really sort of good-looking websites and e-commerce sites. So using Webflow and Airtable together, I can then and Zapier in the middle. Zapier is a tool for integrating websites and other technologies, cloud-based technologies. There's thousands of different apps that could be integrated with Zapier. And allowing them to talk to each other. So in this particular scenario, I'm going to take my contact form from my website and hook that up using Zapier to submit all the inquiries straight into Airtable. So I'm going to first go into Zapier. And what I want to do is create, actually pick up the initial submissions from my web contact form. So I go into Zapier, and I've logged into my Zapier account. You can start for free with the starter account, or you can go for one of the paid accounts, paid subscriptions. So here you go, I've got a Zap, and I'll just give it a name. It'll be collect web form submissions. For example. And in here I've got my site, which is the Process Culture website, and I'm going to hook it up to a form. Now I've got a couple of different forms in here. I've got my email form, for example, so that's the one I'm going to hook up to. So if you've got multiple forms on your website, they'll all appear here. Click continue. Now obviously if you haven't connected up Webflow before, you will do that in here at this step here. You actually choose your account, and you can then connect up to Webflow in here and authenticate with Zapier. So once we've connected up, we can then test our trigger, and we get some test data, pull some test data down. And then the next action we want to take is actually to connect to Airtable. So we just type in Airtable, and then you have to choose a particular event. Now what we're going to do for every inquiry, we're going to create a brand new record. Now at this point we haven't actually set Airtable up, so let's go and have a look at Airtable. We'll jump across there now. So here we are in Airtable. We're in our workspace in Airtable, and you can see I've got a number of bases here already. We've got the project tracker and the business development base, but we're going to create a brand new base for inquiries. So if I click on add base, and I'll give that base a name, so I'll call it inquiries. I'll actually call it contact form inquiries. And then I'll give it a color, for example green. And then in Airtable, as with any spreadsheet, we've got a number of columns that the data we want to collect here. Now the unique thing with Airtable, the first column is a unique field. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to do anything with it beyond perhaps putting in an email address for the person, or capturing even an auto-generated ID, but it is a sort of a unique field that you can search on. So if I'll just leave that field, I'll call that field email, for example. And it'll just be a line of text. Then I can create, so these ones here I can pretty well remove them. I'll actually rename them and repurpose them. So this one will be name. I need to just go back and check my website here, so I'll just go and check what I've got on the contact form. So I've got here name, email, subject and message. So I'll need to map them into the equivalent in here. So the name, it will go as a single text field. And these ones here I will actually delete the field, because we don't need them, and again I'll delete that field. And then what we need to do is we need to add the message. So that's the inquirer's message. That's a long text field. And what else did we need to capture from the form? And then the subject as well. So we can just add in the subject. So we can put the subject in there. And of course, there's another field that's useful. We would like to show, last modified, and these are default fields that come in. So when was the inquiry created? We can have it in 24-hour format. We can display the time zone, and I'm in the Melbourne time zone, so we'll put that one in there, Australian Melbourne time zone. Create the field. And so that will now record the email of the person, their name, the message, and the subject. So we're going to give this, so this is the contact form inquiries base, but we're going to give this table a unique name. So I'll call that web inquiries, for example. And then click save. Now it says here, what should each record be called? I'll just leave it as record. So from now on, when a new record comes in, that new record will be, each email submission will lead to a new record in Airtable. So now we've got that done, we need to go back to Zapier. We're going into Zapier here, we'll choose create new record. So every time there's a form submission, we create a new record. And then of course we need to select sign into Airtable. So we're going to authenticate with Airtable. Now in Airtable we'll need to put the API key in here. So we need to go to the account page in Airtable. Now this part I won't show the actual API key, so I'll just pause and then continue. So we just connected up Airtable using the API key, and now click continue. And then we're going to select the base, and the base is the inquiries base here. So we've got contact form inquiries, and then we select web inquiries, which is the table, and then we're going to select just map everything here, email, name, message, subject, etc. Now they will come from the initial inquiry. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to submit an inquiry through my contact form, and then I'll use that for the mapping. So here I am on my web contact form, and I'm going to fill in my details here and then submit the form, and we'll see, we'll then load those through Zapier, and we'll populate Airtable using the test, and then we can do another live test as well. Let me have a little go at that one. So I'm filling in the subject, which is just testing for YouTube video. And type in something interesting like this is a web inquiry, which is not the most exciting thing. And then click I'm not a robot. And then of course you have to select capture and click verify and then submit. So then the next thing to do is to go back into Zapier. We'll just scroll up to the top here. We're going to select the form submission. Now if we go to the form submission, we go into Zapier, and we go and see the tester trigger to pull down the latest form submission. You can see this is the form submission that we made. So just click continue. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up the action. So create record in Airtable. We're going to map these fields. So we'll take that one, map that one to the email, map this one to the name, map this one across to the message, which is down here, and then map the subject. And that will be auto-generated, and click continue. Now I'll just test the action. So I'll click test action, and that should create a brand new record there in Airtable for you. So if we go across to Airtable, and here we are back in Airtable, and you can see here we've got the inquiry logged in there. So you can just click on the expand record, and we can see the full all the fields in our inquiry. We've got the name, the message, the subject, and we've got the date that the inquiry was submitted. So all that information is in there. Now that means that every single web inquiry is recorded in Airtable. Of course you won't be aware of the fact that they're in Airtable, and that's where obviously at the same time we would need to make sure an email or some kind of notification is sent out to the administrator or the person responsible for the website or for managing web inquiries. And there's a number of ways that can be done. By default, the Webflow contact form can send out an email as well, or you can ensure via Airtable that we can use automation. So whenever a new record is created, we can also send out a custom email from within Airtable. So lots that you can do. Hopefully that was useful. Just gives you a little overview of how you can log all your inquiries inside of Airtable.